Welcome to West Virginia Commonplace. Today, I have a special guest with me. I actually have a friend of mine, like someone that we hung out. It was like, it was for a brief time, but we hung out. We went to like some crazy party or crazy clubs, and we drank the greatest drink ever. Ultra's great. It's a freaking, was it vodka, rum, maybe?
No, it's cranberry juice. Remember the cranberry juice with the vodka?
Yeah, cranberry juice with the vodka. Okay. Now, everybody knows me. I'm the host, JR. My co-host Stacy's with me today.
Hey everyone.
And we have with us Jake. Jake, real fast. This is what I want you to do before we go deep into this episode. Set us up real good. Tell us about you.
Well, I'm 28 years old now. Born July 9th, 1993. So I'm cancer. I'm a trans man, obviously. And, well, I've had a pretty tough upbringing, but, I mean, I can see that I became a great person in my own.
Okay. Now, the title of this episode is Jen to Jake. So let's go back 14 years to Jen. Or
Well,
we can go back as far as you want to go with this. Enlighten us on where everything started and how you got to where you are today.
Well, I mean, everything started when I was just small. I mean, everybody could tell from like just being a little 6-year-old little kid that I wasn't me. I wasn't comfortable with who I was. I didn't feel like I was in the right body. And I mean, I started dressing the way I wanted to, and it became a real big issue with my family. I mean, I grew up in a Bible thumping family of more of they were not okay with how I was. I took a lot of ass whoopings for wearing my brother's underwear. If I didn't dress the way they wanted me to, I didn't go. I mean, I'd get left home at 6, 7 years old by myself and just left there just because I wouldn't dress or be how they wanted me to be. And I went through hell. I went through hell from the time I was a young kid until I finally graduated high school. And the day I graduated, I moved out. I went on my own, and I've been on my own ever since.
Now, let's do a little bit of geography real quick because we met in West Virginia. West Virginia is not one of the strongest places you can come and be free and open about who you are. And it takes, like, everybody knows we have minor cities and we have major cities. So we have Charleston, we have Huntington, Parkersburg, and Morgantown. Those are basically our cities.
And we're not saying that there's not people out there that are not supportive, because there are people, so don't take that wrong at all, anybody. But the point of the thing is that West Virginia is a little behind on times. A lot of people are stuck in their ways. I mean, even the governor says that we're a retirement state. So, I mean, people are stuck how they are. So none of that is saying that there's not people that are not supportive, but we want to make that clear there.
Right. So growing up, we'll say you're down, we won't say exactly where you were, but we'll say you're in the southern part. Lincoln, Mingo, Logan, Boone County, around them areas.
See, I did grow up in Lincoln, though.
Right, and those are hard, cold country. That's a different type of mindset. Them people are a different breed of people, because when you go to Charleston, it's a difference when you go down 119, or if you go around Hurricane and go down 34 the other way to get to out there to those places like Lincoln County. So it's a whole other mindset. So when you got into high school, and we won't go deep, there's only 2 high schools in that county, correct? Duval and the other one.
Nope. Duval's not a high school anymore. There's one high school.
All right, but at that time it was 2, right? It was just 1. So y'all have a consolidated school that takes care of a whole county, and one part of the county is in a certain area, and the other part of the county is near the richest county, like, because Putnam is the richest county in West Virginia. So what was it like as a high schooler? Because it's not an identity crisis, it's who you are. What was it like in high school, 9th grade to 12th grade? Let us know about that. What happened in those pivotal years? Because that's when you make your pivot from being a child to a semi-adult. Not a full adult, but semi.
See, I want to start at 8th grade, though. because eighth grade when I first made my move here. I first came down here and everything. Uh, we lived in a big town back in New Jersey before we ever came down here. It was a real small town when we came down. I grew up in the backwoods, so I didn't really have any friends or neighbors even really that were really close because I was all with these backwoods. Coming into middle school was pretty tough. I mean, I had a lot of kids that would pick on me. I had a lot of kids that I had one time where these kids, I was doing a mile run for gym class and they just stood on top of my shoelaces that I didn't know were beside me and literally ripped my shoelaces through my shoes. I got asked out by a girl and it lasted for about 2 days before we had a big auditorium thing and she came onto the microphone in the middle of the auditorium and let everybody know that it was a big joke.
Wow.
Whoa.
So, so it was a lot of shit. I mean, and then going into high school really wasn't much easier. I mean, yeah, I'd have girls flirt with me now and then until they found out that I wasn't. They thought I was a guy and wasn't a guy at the time, and then they would just turn into like big jokes. Big jokes about students.
At what point did you take on the name Jake?
I guess I finally came out of my shell more of my junior year. I finally started dressing more of how I wanted to. I cut my hair shorter like I wanted to. And I just became me. And it just felt so right.
Right. So until then, you were still known as Jen. Okay.
All right. And the thing is that to describe you to the audience, you have a physique, you have a build to you. So the build from girl to transitioning to a man. I mean, you were an athlete. You have an athletic build to you, so you could measure out however you wanted to. And this is even into your mid-20s because that's when we met in your mid-20s. But you dressed the part, and like I say, not to be rude or anything. I say this when I met you, I thought you were just straight up a man, no nothing transition or nothing. I'm just like, what's up? We work together and then party. No issue, no anything like that. What was the biggest thing that happened to you once you came to the city, when you came to St. Albans and you were out on your own, you were out here living your life? What was the biggest, like what happened to you in Charleston? Because everybody has the story, like, did something good or bad happen once you started expressing yourself?
See, in Charleston, I was in a really bad relationship. It was really real toxic. I literally had a guy with a knife in my basement try to threaten to kill me. I mean, I got attacked by a pit bull. I went through some hell with a relationship that I should never have dealt with. It really kind of ruined me to a point. For a little while, I was really in a depressive state because I still wasn't in the body I wanted. I still didn't feel like I looked like what I wanted to look like. And my girlfriend at that time did not help that at all. She actually told me that she would leave me just for trying to be who I wanted to be. Eventually, it led to a point. I'll be honest. I tried to kill myself. I tried to overdose on pills. I finally got out of that and got myself out and got myself more happy. My cousin took me out to Hawaii for two whole years, and out in Hawaii, I mean, I was able to peak. I started to work out more. I started to get my physique that I wanted. I started to get that look that I wanted. And more people were more open about it. I mean, there were more bars that had more people like me. It was a lot easier to meet other people like me, which I actually did. I met my buddy named Skylar. I mean, we've been best friends since I met him, and he actually lives in Taiwan.
Whoa.
Yeah, he was only 18 when I met him, and he was like on a summer like one of those summer work visas. So he was out in Hawaii for that whole time. And it was awesome. And it felt good to have somebody else that was like me that I could talk to, that we were all changing and we could express how everything was changing among us. And especially starting testosterone. Oh my gosh. Imagine, you already know a male boy's puberty.
Yes.
While starting testosterone, you're going through the whole puberty cycle from the very beginning.
So your voice does the high and lows, and you get that little squeak in there.
Yep, and then it finally drops.
So you
my
said-
voice used to be squeaky.
You said you went over with your cousin?
Yeah.
How is your relationship with your family now? The rest of your family? Has it gotten better or is it still strained?
Well, when I say my cousin, we're not physically related.
Okay, but it's still okay.
Yeah, he's like the only family that's really there for me.
Okay.
In about 2016, I met my mom for the first time. We started talking for the first time after I hadn't seen her since I was 4 years old. And she's been one of my biggest supporters. I mean, mom loves me no matter what, but when it comes to my adoptive family, no one has even talked to me since I graduated.
Okay. Sometimes you don't need that. Like you make your own family, I think. I mean, real families are great when you have that support system, but when you don't, you make your own family. Like you said, it might not be your cousin by blood, but he's your family. Or they're your family.
Okay, now let's go into some of the hard-hitting questions, because the great thing about this podcast is we educate people. We want people to learn things about, because we all have different things about us, things that go on. So if you don't mind, let's talk about the testosterone. Like, when did it become a point that it was like, hey, and I'm not saying the word tougher, but I want to say it like this: it was time to get more masculine. That's the best way to put it.
Well, I have to say that my decision to finally start, it was a lot easier than it was hard, because there was no family that didn't want me anymore because I hadn't spoken to them in years and they hadn't spoken to me. And so it became a lot easier to decide to do it. Yeah, I was a little bit nervous at the beginning because, well, they were shots, and I'm a little nervous when it comes to the needles. But really starting it though, the clinic there has to be the biggest thing that helped me, because in Hawaii they actually had their own clinic for transgender. So they had a separate clinic that was specifically for transgender people. So they educated us on how to use the needles, how much to put in it, what to make it easier to be able to inject and everything. And I have to say, I'm gonna put a shout out to them, the Lavender Clinic out in Oahu. I mean, because they were the biggest support in that whole process that helped me to be okay and be more comfortable with doing my shots and everything.
So if anybody has any questions or anything like that, they can probably reach out to them, and they're really good to communicate with.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
All right. So another thing, like with your journey and being going from one gender to a next gender, were there certain roles that you had to assign more? Like after you started getting more masculine, you got the more facial hair, your arms, your body transformed. Were there certain things that you had to take away from your female self to go to your male self? Like, did you have to lose some of yourself to become, or obviously, no, you didn't need, I need to rephrase it. You didn't lose yourself. Did you gain more of yourself as you were losing Jen?
To be honest, yeah. I mean, the first noticing signs that you got when you're starting is like the voice change, the pitch drop. You don't get your like official full drop. It takes like a couple of months to start to get that full drop in. But really noticing the facial hair coming in and my body hair getting darker and it all coming together. And then you start to notice too with the testosterone that your fatty distribution changes. So I noticed more when I was as Jen is that I get more fat on my thighs or on my butt. But with men, with the testosterone, your fatty distribution changes and you start to actually gain more fat towards your belly rather than towards everything else. So you really start to notice this actual physical change in your own appearance.
Okay. Now, what about with the weightlifting? Because with weightlifting, I mean, I don't know, I'm not transgender, so did you realize like an increase in your strength, the tightness of your muscles and everything else? Was it a difference in your
Oh,
strength?
without a doubt. I mean, because with the testosterone, men get a natural muscle build. A lot of women have to work a lot harder to get the actual muscle build that a guy has. But when you start testosterone, your muscles actually start to work with you. You as you start to work out yourself, you'll notice that you'll be increasing on that strength. You'll be increasing on that endurance. And it actually pushes you to actually go harder. And I mean, some guys go a little bit too hard, which you got to be slow. You got to be slow with it because it's not a fast process of working out. I mean, I started off with just doing the bar itself without the weights. But that's only because as going into the transition in the beginning, you don't have a lot of that core muscle that a guy would have. So it's a lot harder to work at first. But once you start at it, it just starts to come naturally and starts to build more. And I mean, I got some guns now. They're pretty hard. I even got a 6-pack.
Right, because you can tell, like looking at you, you have, like JR said, you have a masculine build now.
Yeah, you're defined.
Like you can tell that you want to be perceived as masculine.
You got a tough build to you. I mean, I've body slammed.
I mean, it could just be the sweatshirt, but you know.
So let's get to what's deep, because on this show we do mental health empowerment. It's a mental anguish in anything we do. I changed this shirt to a blue shirt, and it's not the Rick and Morty shirt I want to wear, but I like the blue. You know, I'm gonna have a little anguish over that later. So when you got to the point where you started peaking in your masculinity with the testosterone, what was your mindset like? How did you cope and deal with this? Because it's a gratification, like I'm getting to where I want to be, but at the same time, it says darkness in the behind you. And I know this darkness because I know what it like when I wrestled and stuff. Like I was getting in shit, getting really cut up and doing this stuff. And then sometimes I was just like, why am I doing this? Did that ever happen to you?
See, what it came with me is in the beginning of working out, I wasn't seeing much change, and it did bring me down a little bit because I was wanting this change so bad that I just started working out even more. But I mean, once it started more and I started to become more adept with it and I started to work with it a lot more, I became more happy. I noticed that I was getting, I'll admit, I've got depression, I've got anxiety, I've got PTSD, and I've got night terrors. But I really noticed a drop in my depression is that because I started to become more comfortable in my skin. It became more comfortable with me working out in front of all these guys because I started to build more. It was a little bit like anguish, like I don't know if these guys are noticing that I'm wearing a binder or if these guys are noticing that I don't look exactly like them or they're noticing that I'm not changing in the changing room with them. I mean, so that was a little bit like you explained with the red shirt and the blue one, bub. But I mean, once I started getting more comfortable in my skin and I got a little happier, it started to get to the point that I could change in the guys' locker room and not care if anybody looked at me because I knew who I was. I knew how I felt, and it made me happy that my body was starting to physique the way it is.
So how is it now? Like when you introduce yourself as my name is Jake, like, do you think people handle you better? Like, do they know instantly, or do you explain it as you're like doing that introduction, or is it I'm Jake and that's it?
Most people it's just Jake and that's it.
Okay.
The girl I'm currently with, I did go through the whole explaining process with her about
Right.
explaining how I was and how my body was and the different changes, but also the different things that are still the ways that they were. But with most people, it's just Jake. I've come across a couple people. I mean, like when I'm working. Right now, you guys can see me. They can't, but I've got
Right.
short hair now. My hair grew out for a while. Um, it was my ex's idea. I didn't really like it too much. But when it was growing out, I got a little bit more diminished with myself a little bit more for a little bit. Only because like even though I had a name tag and it said Jake on it, I would get customers and stuff that would come to my store and they would be like, "Oh, you're such a pretty young lady," and I'm just like thinking to
Right.
myself, "Well, see the beard? Do you not see the beard?"
Right. I used to be a manager at a gas station, and we had a few customers that would come in and mess with two of my employees. And eventually, I had to tell them, like, listen, if you can't get it corrected, then you need to find another gas station to come to. Like, this is who they are, and this is how they want to be, um, like mentioned. Like, this is a he, him, and this is a she, her. So if you can't respect that, either come in a different time or go to another station. So like that's eventually how I had to handle that.
So let me tie you two together because y'all do have a connection you don't know about. You know the connection. When we all lived in St. Albans, you lived down Mandeville in one stretch, but there was a 7-Eleven between me and you. She was
Yeah.
the manager of the 7-Eleven.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Now, yep, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah,
Yep.
because I lived on that road by the railroad tracks that went
Yeah.
over top of
Okay.
the river.
Yep.
Yeah, so we all have a connection. That's kind of crazy. So I just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah.
Now, you go through all the steps. You're taking care of yourself. You're building yourself up. Your self esteem. You're loving yourself more. Okay. Now it's time to spread love out in the world. What was your first hiccup or your mistake that you made when you decided after you had reinvented yourself and got yourself, or not reinvented yourself, you got yourself exactly what you wanted to be? What was the first mistake you made in showering the world with love?
Uh, well, I have to say, I decided to finally go out swimming once, and I decided I didn't want to wear a shirt, so I just wore my binder. It was a bit uncomfortable because a lot of people like stare because it looks like a guy swimming in a t-shirt. But I mean, as I got more comfortable with it in my own way because I stopped caring. I stopped caring about the people that were staring around me because it didn't matter what they wanted to look at or what they seen when they looked at me because I knew how I was. For a lot of trans guys, it can be a little bit hard. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there though. I have to say, especially all over TikTok, I am so proud of some of these transgender guys. There are some of them that are completely topless
Right.
and they're pre-surgery and they're just that comfortable with their own skin that they're not afraid to show it all. And eventually, I'd like to get that comfortable. I mean, eventually, I'd like to have surgery just to get rid of them.
Okay.
But
So that is in the plans.
oh yes, ma'am.
All right, good. Now, what we do on this podcast is we've heard a little bit of your story, but I need you to give back to help someone because that's what we do on here. We help people, like, because there's someone right now. There's a Jen that's sitting in Hurricane, West Virginia right now, that's afraid to come out and let her family know that she is a he. What I need you to do right now is encourage and please give us your mission statement. What would you tell that person, that Jen that's in Hurricane, West Virginia?
Well, I'm gonna say this is that um your family might not take it right. Every family is different. Some families are gonna take it a lot better than some others. some are gonna be like my family and really outrate it. But you can't be afraid. I mean, if you want to be you, you can't be afraid. This world, we have limited time on this earth. Everybody knows it. We're all on this earth as long as we're breathing, and there's no point in living in a shadow. You don't want to live in that dark space because that dark space it's going to engulf you. It's going to put you in this headspace that you're not going to ever be able to be happy. But if you spread your wings, you let it all out. You let it out in the open. You don't you just what you need to do is not care. Don't care what the people around you think. Don't care what your family thinks because no matter what, there's always people out there that will care.
Right.
And there's a lot of people out there that will reach out and be your family when you have no one else there. I mean, fuck, you throw them my way. I'll be their family. I'll be a brother.
Okay, so you all heard it. Yeah, if you have any doubt that you're going to have the support system, there, like he said, there's always somebody out there that's going to be willing to help you out. So reach out. How can they find you?
Well, I'd say the best thing would probably be my phone number.
No,
Yeah.
well, yeah. Okay, so we'll do it this way. If you need help, if you have questions, if you want to reach out to Jake, maybe there's something that we didn't cover, send us an email or send us a message on Instagram, WVUncommonplace at gmail.com.
Now, let me ask you this real quick. Do you have an Instagram handle still?
I don't think I have Instagram.
All right, listen, I'm gonna need you after we get off the phone, after you're done with life. I need you to go make an Instagram because what's going to happen after this is people are going to contact you. They're going to want to reach out to you because we have this thing when we release the podcast. There's a thing called show notes. The show notes, I'm going to put your name in there, not your full name,
Right.
but if you have a tag or if you want them to talk to you on Facebook, I'll put a link so they can come to your profile so they can come talk to you because you don't understand this, and I never understood it until someone pointed it out to me. It's more than an influential help on someone's life. It's you are advocating with what you're doing.
Right.
Every step you take, right? And we never put ourselves in a glass and look at ourselves like, oh, I'm doing something that's going to actually help other people. We're just like, I'm helping myself, not in a selfish way, but I'm helping myself get to where I want to be. I have a message, I have a statement. In your message and statement, people will flock to you because you're being strong, you're being vulnerable, you're showing the world that, yeah, you're showing the world that it's more
Yeah.
than just an S on your chest. There's human inside. It's not an Android, it's an iPhone. You know, it's life. You know, because people that use Androids, and I will say this, are kind of old. They're robots. But, you know, so definitely if you can make an Instagram handle, because people will jump on you. I wouldn't give people your Snapchat because Snapchat gets crazy. But
Well, I'm gonna tell you this: I don't have any room on my phone currently to download any apps, but I do have Snapchat, and I don't care if people blow up my Snapchat.
Okay.
I don't care; they can blow it up all they want. I will talk to anybody and everybody.
Okay, so if you want us to, we'll share your Snapchat code. You guys can get together with Jake, go on Snapchat, or also, like I said, you can send us a message and we'll link you guys together somehow. But you always have a support system out there, whether you know it or not. Whether it's family that is by blood or family that you create, there's always somebody out there that is willing to help you out.
So before we end this podcast, there's a thing that I do. I pay homage to a TV show called 2020. It used to come on when I was a kid, come on Friday nights after TGI Friday came on. I know you're a little younger, so you don't know about this. So on this show, they ask really edgy questions. They want to get a sense of things. So the question that comes to mind from the dumb side of the world, the part of the brain that doesn't think is this. What is your position on this? How many stages or what stage are you complete in your trans role?
I have to say, for a lot of transgender guys, it's different because some choose not to ever have the surgeries, and that's still complete. You're still complete. You're the way you want to be. Some guys go on to have all the surgeries. Some only get top surgery. Um, but it all depends on you. It all depends on what you want. If you want your body to look like this, or you don't want to change it to completely look like that, that's all right. And how I will say it is, once you are comfortable in your own skin, that's where you want to be. You're complete. You're you. And I do want to say one thing to everybody listening. I love every single one of you because you're you. You're not anybody else, and you don't ever have to pretend to be anybody else.
And I like that. So now here goes my hard hitting question. And this is the hardest question on earth. Perception. Perception is something we're perceived. We can't dictate how we're perceived or how someone receives us as a person, as an entity or anything. From Jen to Jake, the perception you have of yourself today, whom is that? And how far are you going? Just attitude. I'm not talking about physical things, but I'm talking about your attitude, how you're going to just carry yourself from now on.
I have to say that Jen was this shy kid that hardly anyone ever talked to, and if they did, they bullied her and they tore her down. She was just a shell. Going into Jake, I feel confident. I'm strong. I'm my own person. I've developed a backbone per se. Um, I don't take anybody's garbage anymore, and I feel like I'm more. How would I describe it? I don't feel empty anymore. I feel full.
Okay. So do you think you're where you are mentally? Like, are you good? Like, you are. I can continue whether you change continue to change physically. You're Jake. You're there, and you're where you want to be.
Yeah, I can say it. Yeah, with strong confidence that my mental state is exactly where I want it to be.
Good.
I've developed so much of a just so much of myself that it completely, it's like the Jen that was there. Yeah, she's always there in the shadow because I can't change who I was born as, but I can change who I will live as.
Right. We'll wrap up here because we know you got things to do. So just know we are proud of you for making the decisions that you made, and we are glad that you were strong enough to overcome everything that you have overcome. And we wish you great success in everything that you continue to do. And we hope that you're able to help out a lot of people going on forward.
And the last part of the show that goes right back over to you, I need you to give a quick shout out to everyone that's helped you along the way. Because this is the cool thing in life. No matter what happens, we have people, because I consider myself a tumbleweed. People hear from me once in a while. You hear from me when you need to, or if you need someone to talk to you, we meet back up in life, we talk, and then I'm like a tumbleweed, I disappear again. But you always know that there's a tumbleweed there. So I need to know the people that have helped you, even if they've been tumbleweeds or whatever, give a big shout out to them because they're going to hear this, or one of their friends is going to hear this, or their cousins, mother, sister's going to hear this. So please give a big shout out.
Well, I'd have to give back big shout out to my family, the family that I had as a kid that I stayed with. I like lived with them. Their mom had her an own drawer for me with my clothes, and have to be the entire Watson family. I mean, Kyle, Nisa, Lucas. I mean, Mama Missy, Dad Slinky. I mean, everybody. Matt Hodges. I mean, he's been my best friend for the longest time. Um, you, of course, sir, because you're all for me no matter what. Um, but I have to say, my biggest supporter has been right now is my mom, Christina Lecomte. I mean, she gave me up a long time ago, and she never wanted to. She was young, her mom was dying, and she had to take care of her, and there was no way she'd take care of us with her. And I forgive her for all that mistake. And I have to say I got one last person, which is my girlfriend currently, and it's Mandy. And she stays up with me on the dark nights. She's there for me no matter what. I can talk to her about anything, and she's always there to listen. And she's the absolute love of my life. I can't see another time without her anymore.
All right.
Okay.
Now, once again, guys, I want to thank you guys for listening to West Virginia and Commonplace. You all know the routine with this. I do my quick little spiel here, and here it goes. You can follow us over at www.wvuncommonplace.com. You can check us out on all 14 social media platforms. You can hear this podcast on over 15 different RSS feeds or podcast apps. That's iHeartRadio, that's Apple, that's Spotify, that's wherever you want to listen. I can't dictate where you listen. And I want to thank, once again, I want to thank Stacy. I want to thank Jake. So, Stacy, I want you to finish out with us real quick. Let everyone know that you have taken on hosting duties with me on a full-time basis on certain episodes.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to pop in a little bit more often now. Get my toes wet, I guess, as they say it. Give a little more of my attitude in here and there, and let you guys know that JR is not, a single entity here.
All right, and Jake, I want to tell you this, and I do a quick statement. It's a testimony I do in all my episodes. I want to say this. I'm very proud of you, first off, before we go any further in this testimony. What I like is when I met you, you were wild. You were hanging out with us. We were all drinking. Listen, we were all over St. Albans, and don't get me St. Albans, please. We were all over St. Albans drinking. We were around Charleston drinking. It didn't matter what we were doing. Heck, we got drunk on New Year's Eve into the day. We drank. We stayed up all night long. Ended up in the cab, and then ended up back in St. Albans. And probably had the greatest time ever. And it was lovely. I will say this about Charleston as a whole. Charleston after 12 o'clock at night, if you're downtown, is one of the greatest places you can be. And it doesn't matter what part of the community you're part of, just as long as you're in the center of town, you will have a great time. But to get back to you, and then we'll let this go. Everything you're doing, your testimony, everything that you've given, everything you've said, the way you carry yourself, the way you just do anything, and you always say "bub," that is amazing. I want you to, for the rest of your life, to keep doing that. Like, don't stop being this person, because this is the person I've known when we were working anywhere with Crazy Mark. God rest his soul. I don't know if he's dead or not, but he might be dead. But we've had amazing times, even though it was brief. We've always kept in contact at some point here or there. One last thing, Jake is an avid video gamer. You can catch him on different platforms. We will get you links for that too, because people reach out, and next thing you know, you'll have a Twitch show going on. Mm-hmm. I'll talk to you about it later. We'll work out something for you.
Any links you want us to throw in there, we'll put on there, so that way people can reach out and ask questions.
All right. So, guys, once again, this is JR and Stacy from West Virginia Commonplace with Jake. I am signing off.